11th of March, 1943. The moment 9 wooden boats attacked from the direction the Germans believed impossible. Darkness. Visual 2:47 hours. 4 kilometers off the Dutch coast near IJmuiden, a German convoy commander stands on the bridge of his escort vessel, Vorpostenboot 51506. Captain Lieutenant Werner Schaff, 41 years old, 12 months in coastal defense, scans the seaward horizon through Zeiss binoculars. His guns point west toward Britain. His radar sweeps the open North Sea. Behind him, to starboard, lies the Dutch coastline, shallow water, sandbanks, German-controlled harbours, safe water. His convoy of 3 merchant vessels carries ball bearings from Sweden and iron ore from Norway. Without these materials, Krupp cannot manufacture tank transmissions. Daimler-Benz cannot build aircraft engines. And this cargo matters more than the men protecting it. Schaff believes the threat comes from the sea. Every German commander believes this. This was the day the British proved that belief would kill them. The fundamental question, how do you sink a defended convoy when you possess neither the firepower to destroy the escorts nor the numbers to overwhelm them? At 0251 hours, star shells burst above the convoy, not from seaward, from the coast, from behind, from the direction no German doctrine anticipated. Schaff turns and sees what should not exist. 9 British boats, engines roaring at 38 knots, emerging from Dutch coastal waters they should never have reached, attacking from the landward side where his heaviest guns cannot depress low enough to engage. His 88mm cannon cannot traverse fast enough. His crew scrambles. Tracer fire rips across his deck before his gunners reach their stations. The first man dies without firing a shot. The British had found the blind spot in Germany's entire coastal defense network, and they had come to exploit it repeatedly, coldly, without mercy. These are the stories that deserve to be remembered. Subscribe to honor the men who fought wars most will never hear about. Now, this was not an isolated raid. By March 1943, coastal forces, Britain's fleet of motor torpedo boats and motor gun boats, had refined a system that turned Germany's coastal convoy routes into killing zones. The Germans called it Schnellbootgefahr, the fast boat threat. But that term failed to capture the mathematics of attrition now destroying their supply chain. Lieutenant Commander Peter Dickens, 32 years old, commanding officer of the 21st MTB Flotilla, had planned this operation with the precision of an accountant calculating bankruptcy. His force, 3 motor gun boats equipped with 20mm Oerlikon cannons and 50 caliber Vickers machine guns, 6 motor torpedo boats each carrying 2 18-inch torpedoes. Total crew across all 9 boats, 137 men. Total tonnage, 270 tons of plywood, mahogany, and petrol engines. Facing them, Schaff's convoy comprised 3 merchants totaling 4,200 tons, escorted by 2 Vorpostenboot, armed trawlers displacing 350 tons each, equipped with 88mm guns, 37mm anti-aircraft weapons, and depth charges. A third escort, a Kriegsfisch-Kutter minesweeper, provided additional machine gun coverage. Total defending firepower, significantly superior to anything Dickens possessed. Yet Dickens had identified the flaw in German doctrine that made victory possible. German coastal escorts trained to repel attacks from seaward. Their heavy weapons pointed outward toward Britain. Their radar focused on the open North Sea. Their captains expected threats to approach from international waters, not from shallow coastal channels behind them. British intelligence had confirmed another vulnerability. German convoy schedules ran with railway precision. They departed Swedish and Norwegian ports at predictable intervals, hugged the Dutch and German coasts at predictable speeds, and arrived at predictable times. Predictability creates opportunity. Opportunity creates death. The cargo aboard those 3 merchants justified the risk. Ball bearings manufactured at SKF's Swedish plants. Without them, every German tank, aircraft and U-boat suffered reduced operational lifespan. Iron ore from Narvik. Without it, steel production collapsed. Germany's war economy depended on this coastal traffic. Sink enough of it, and Tiger tanks never left the factory. FW-190s never reached squadrons, U-boats never sailed. Churchill had stated the logic clearly in a November 1942 memorandum. The German coastal trade is the weakest link in their supply system. We must strike it relentlessly. Coastal forces became the weapon to execute that strategy. But success required solving a tactical problem. How do wooden boats survive long enough to launch torpedoes against defended targets? Was Churchill right to call this Germany's weakest link? Or did he underestimate just how much damage 9 wooden boats could truly inflict? Leave your thoughts below. Dickens had studied every coastal forces action report from 1940 onward. He understood the pattern. Early raids failed because MTBs attacked alone, absorbed defensive fire, and either missed with torpedoes or were driven off before reaching launch range. The German escorts simply shot them to pieces. The solution emerged from combined arms thinking adapted to small-scale naval warfare. Motor gun boats would suppress the escorts, strip away their defensive firepower, force their crews below decks, create chaos. Motor torpedo boats would exploit that chaos to penetrate the screen and sink the merchants. Suppression, then killing. Firepower, then maneuver. The system worked because it attacked German psychology as much as German hulls. Coastal escort duty destroyed morale. Every night, German crews sat in the North Sea. Darkness, knowing British boats might appear at any moment. No sleep. Constant alerts. The psychological term is hypervigilance fatigue. After 6 months of convoy duty, German naval reports described crews as operationally exhausted and combat ineffective due to nervous strain. British boats, by contrast, operated from secure bases, raided at will, and returned to hot meals and rest. They controlled the tempo. They chose when to strike. The Germans could only react. On 10 March, intelligence reached Dickens's headquarters at HMS Beehive, the coastal forces base at Felixstowe. A Swedish informant confirmed a convoy would depart Eyewitness at 0200 hours on 11 March, heading northeast toward the German Bight. 3 merchants, heavy escort, high-value cargo. The convoy would pass a specific navigation buoy at approximately 0245 hours. Dickens called his commanders to the operations room at 1800 hours on 10th March. The briefing lasted 11 minutes. MGBs 601, 607 and 610 would engage escorts at 1500 yards, maximum rate of fire, targeting gun crews and bridges. MTBs 230, 233, 234, 238, 241 and 243 would hold position until suppression achieved, then attack on Dickens's signal. Torpedo launch range 800 yards, aim for amidships, maximize probability of hull breach below the waterline. No one asked unnecessary questions. This flotilla had executed 17 convoy attacks since January. They understood the choreography. At 21:30 hours, 9 boats slipped moorings and headed into the North Sea. Darkness absolute, wind northwest at 12 knots. Sea state 3, moderate waves, no whitecaps, visibility 1,000 meters, ideal conditions for this kind of work. Dickens commanded from MTB 241. As they cleared British waters, he ordered engines throttled back to 12 knots to reduce noise signature. Radio silence absolute, navigation by dead reckoning, and occasional star fixes. The Dutch coast appeared as a darker absence against the night sky. At 0200 hours, the flotilla reached the ambush position, 2 kilometers off Ijmuiden, tucked into the shallow water between the coast and the convoy route. Engines cut to idle, the boats drifted listening, Lookouts strained for engine noise, the vibration of approaching diesels transmitted through water. At 02:38 hours, they heard it. The low throb of merchant engines, the higher pitch of escort diesels. Dickens raised his binoculars. Dark shapes materialized against the faint glow of Ijmuiden's harbour lights. 3 large silhouettes, 2 smaller escorts flanking them, a third astern. The convoy steamed northeast at 8 knots, oblivious. German lookouts scanned seaward. Their radar swept the wrong direction. At 02:45 hours, Dickens lifted his oldies lamp and flashed the code word, "Attack." If you value these accounts of Britain's lesser-known naval operations, the small unit actions that reshaped the war's strategic balance, please subscribe. We return now to the moment German confidence shattered. 60 seconds after Dickens's signal, RAF Coastal Command dropped star shells from a Beaufort torpedo bomber orbiting at 3,000 feet. Parachute flares ignited 200 meters above the convoy, transforming night into artificial noon. Shadows vanished. Every German vessel became a perfect silhouette. Schaff spun toward the light source and saw his nightmare. 9 British boats, already at 25 knots and accelerating, racing in from the coast. From behind, from the direction his doctrine declared impossible, he shouted orders. Gun crews scrambled. The 88mm crew tried to traverse their weapon toward the British boats, but the mount's design prevented extreme depression angles. The gun could not aim low enough. The 37mm anti-aircraft weapon lacked the traverse speed to track targets moving at 38 knots. At 02:47 hours, MGBs 601, 607 and 610 opened fire at 1,400 yards. The sound like industrial machinery tearing itself apart. 20mm Oerlikon shells, firing at 450 rounds per minute, walked across V-1506's deck. Tracer rounds, 1 in every 5 shells, created bright chains of fire. Vickers machine guns added 50 caliber rounds at 700 rounds per minute. The first burst killed Schaff's forward gun crew, 3 men dead before they could load a shell. The second burst shredded the bridge, wounding Schaff in the left shoulder and killing his navigator. Glass fragments from the shattered windows blinded the helmsman temporarily. The boat yawed to starboard, turning away from the attackers instead of toward them. V-1507, the second escort, fared no better. Its captain attempted to illuminate the British boats with a searchlight. MGB 607 targeted the light and destroyed it with a 3-second burst. The captain survived but lost his starboard gun crew. German return fire proved inaccurate. Their machine guns sprayed tracers into the darkness, hitting nothing. The range closed too quickly. Their gun sights, designed for slower targets at longer ranges, could not track boats accelerating past 40 knots. At 02:49 hours, Dickens transmitted the second code word. The MTBs surged forward. MTB 230, commanded by Lieutenant David Shaw, 27 years old, 9 months in coastal forces, maneuvered through the gap created by V-1506's starboard turn. Shaw's crew loaded torpedoes into launch tubes. Range closed to 1,000 yards, 900, 800. At 02:50 hours, Shaw's torpedo officer called, "Solution locked." Shaw ordered, "Fire 1, fire 2." 2 18-inch torpedoes, each carrying 388 pounds of TNT, dropped into the water and accelerated to 40 knots. Running depth, 3 meters. Target, the largest merchant, a 1,800-ton freighter carrying Swedish ball bearings. Impact at 02:51 hours. The first torpedoes struck amidships below the waterline, breaching the hull adjacent to the cargo hold. Water flooded in at approximately 60 tons per minute. The second torpedo hit aft, destroying the engine room. Steam from ruptured boilers killed the engine crew instantly. 8 men scalded to death in darkness. The freighter listed 10 degrees to port within 90 seconds. Captain and crew abandoned ship. Lifeboats launched into frigid water. North Sea temperature in March averages 6 degrees Celsius. Survival time without immersion suits, 30 minutes before hypothermia, induces unconsciousness. MTB 233 engaged the second merchant, Lieutenant James Foster, 29 years old. Veteran of 11 convoy attacks, closed to 700 yards before launching. Both torpedoes ran true. One missed astern. The second struck forward, flooding the bow. The ship did not sink immediately but lost propulsion and began settling by the head. V-1506 attempted to ram MTB 238, but the British boat's superior speed allowed it to evade. As V-1506 committed to its ramming course, MTB 241, Dickens's boat, fired both torpedoes at the escort itself. One torpedo missed. The other struck V-1506's engine room at 0253 hours. The explosion broke the escort's keel. The boat split amidships and sank in under 3 minutes. Schaff and 42 crew went into the water. 17 drowned before rescue arrived. Schaff survived but spent 4 hours in the North Sea before another German vessel retrieved him. He lost 3 fingers to frostbite and never returned to active duty. These accounts matter because they reveal how wars are truly won. Share this story with those who understand that victory comes from awareness, not courage alone. Lieutenant Zursee Hansbrandt, 23 years old, gunner aboard V-1507, experienced the action from behind an Oerlikon mount. His account, recorded in a 1947 British interrogation, describes confusion more than combat. "We fired at engine noise, we fired at muzzle flashes, we fired at nothing. They moved too fast. Every time we aimed, they had already changed position. The tracers showed us where they were 5 seconds ago, not where they were now. We heard torpedoes running but could not tell which direction. Then explosions, then screaming. And then more darkness. Brandt fired 180 rounds. During the engagement, he believes none hit a British vessel. His gun mount received return fire that killed the loader standing beside him. A burst of machine gun fire removed the top of his skull. He collapsed into me. I pushed him away and kept firing. What else could I do?" At 0254 hours, German return fire achieved its only success. A 37mm shell from V-1507 struck MTB 234 in the engine compartment. The shell fragmented, killing the engineer and wounding 2 stokers. Fuel lines ruptured. Fire spread. Lieutenant Anthony Carr, commanding MTB 234, shut down engines and ordered fire suppression. His crew deployed extinguishers but could not contain the blaze. Petrol fires burn at over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Plywood and mahogany ignite easily. Within 2 minutes, Carr recognized his boat was lost. He ordered abandon ship. All crew entered the water. Carr remained aboard until every man had evacuated, then stepped off the stern as flames consumed the bridge. Water temperature, 6 degrees. Survival clock, 30 minutes. Dickens observed MTB 234 burning and made a decision that defined his command philosophy. He ordered MTB 241 to stop and recover survivors. This meant remaining stationary under potential German fire, exposing his boat to counterattack and delaying withdrawal. His crew pulled 16 men from the water in 4 minutes. Carr came aboard last, hypothermic but conscious. Dickens wrapped him in blankets and poured rum into him. Standard Royal Navy cold water treatment. MTB 234 burned for another 6 minutes, then exploded as flames reached remaining fuel tanks. The wreck sank at 0303 hours. Dickens scuttled no British boat that night. The Germans did it for him. At 0258 hours, Dickens ordered withdrawal. All boats turned west and accelerated to maximum speed. German escorts did not pursue. V-1507 had recovered survivors from V-1506 and could not give chase. The remaining minesweeper lacked the speed. By 03:15 hours, the British flotilla had cleared Dutch waters and entered international zones. By 04:30 hours, they reached Felixstowe. Total time from attack initiation to safe return, 1 hour, 45 minutes. German after-action reports, declassified in 1968, claimed the British lost 5 boats. Kriegsmarine communiqué announced, "Enemy attack repelled with heavy losses to the aggressor. 5 British torpedo boats confirmed destroyed. Our losses, 2 merchant vessels damaged. 1 escort vessel damaged, casualties minimal." British records tell a different story. 1 MTB lost, scuttled by fire, not sunk by enemy action. All crew recovered. 0 fatalities. 2 British sailors wounded, both non-critical injuries. German losses, 1 escort sunk, 1 merchant crippled and later scuttled. 63 German naval personnel dead, cargo valued at 4.2 million Reichsmarks lost. The disparity between German claims and British reality reflected the chaos of night combat. In darkness, muzzle flashes and explosions create illusions. Every hit feels like a kill. Every burning vessel becomes enemy wreckage. Neither side possessed perfect situational awareness, but the mathematics of attrition did not lie. 3 German vessels destroyed or crippled, 1 British boat lost, crew saved. By any calculus, a British victory. One detail from V1507's action report illuminates the doctrinal divide between Kriegsmarine and Royal Navy. During the engagement, V1507's helmsman, Oberbootsman Friedrich Kiel, turned his vessel hard to port without waiting for orders, evading a torpedo he had spotted by instinct rather than instrumentation. The maneuver saved the boat. His captain reprimanded him in writing for acting without orders and violating command protocols. German naval doctrine emphasized discipline and adherence to orders. Initiative without permission constituted insubordination. Dickens's decision to stop under fire and recover MTB 234's crew earned him a mention in dispatches and later a Distinguished Service Cross. British doctrine rewarded calculated risk-taking and prioritized saving lives even at tactical cost. And this cultural difference mattered as much as firepower. Warfare rewards speed of decision. Rigid hierarchies, slow decisions. By the time German captains requested permission to maneuver, British boats had already moved. The attack off Ijmuiden formed one engagement in what historians now call the Battle of the Narrow Seas, the sustained British campaign to destroy German coastal traffic from 1940 to 1945. Coastal forces conducted over 3,000 offensive operations during this period, sinking or damaging over 500 German vessels. The strategic impact compounded over time. Each raid forced Germany to divert escorts from other duties. Each sinking delayed cargo deliveries. Each convoy disruption created bottlenecks in factories dependent on Swedish steel and Norwegian ore. Krupp's production reports from 1943 noted delays in tank output specifically attributed to interruptions in coastal supply routes. Germany never fielded enough escorts to protect every convoy. Britain never stopped attacking. The arithmetic favored attrition. Even when individual raids failed, the cumulative pressure degraded German logistics. By mid-1943, German coastal convoy crews exhibited measurable psychological deterioration. Medical reports described symptoms consistent with chronic stress disorders, insomnia, hypervigilance, emotional numbing. Morale reports noted increasing reluctance to volunteer for escort duty. One Kriegsmarine memorandum from June 1943 stated, "Coastal convoy service now viewed by personnel as equivalent to U-boat duty in terms of danger and fatigue." The British had weaponized unpredictability. German crews could never rest. Every night might bring attack. Every voyage might be the last. Final accounting for Coastal Forces campaign: 457 German vessels sunk, 218 damaged beyond economic repair, over 12,000 German naval personnel killed, millions of tons of cargo lost. British losses, 347 MTBs and MGBs lost, approximately 2,000 crew killed. The exchange rate favoured Britain. Germany could not replace the cargo tonnage lost. Britain could build replacement boats faster than Germany could sink them. Attrition mathematics determined the outcome. In 1957, Peter Dickens published a memoir titled Night Action. He described the moment in March 1943 when he understood the strategic significance of these small raids. We were not simply sinking ships. We were forcing Germany to guard every kilometre of coastline with vessels and men they could not spare. We were creating a second front in miniature, tying down resources Hitler needed elsewhere. Each successful attack multiplied German anxiety. They knew we could strike anywhere, anytime. That knowledge paralyzed their coastal operations. The fundamental lesson: firepower mattered, but initiative mattered more. British boats won because British commanders thought faster in the dark. German discipline became rigidity. British aggression became tactical advantage. They did not just sink ships, they sank Germany's illusion of safety. If this account mattered to you, press like to remember those who served, leave one word of judgment below, and subscribe so these stories are never lost. Thank you for watching Britain in Battle.